Hey guys, this video is an introduction to GitHub. So GitHub is one of the most, or you can say the most popular websites for hosting Git repositories. So if you have no idea about what Git is, you can check out my video on introduction to Git. Its link has been provided in the description below. So now let us have a look at a brief history of GitHub. GitHub was developed by Chris Von Strath, PJ Hyde, Tom Preston Werner, and Scott Kacken using Ruby on Rails, and it started in February 2008. So these four guys were responsible for making this thing, and on June 4, 2018, Microsoft announced that they're going to acquire GitHub for 7.5 billion US dollars. So now this was a brief history of GitHub, and now as we already know that GitHub is a web-based hosting service for Git repositories, but what is so special about it? So the special thing is that it also provides a few extra things. It provides you access control, which means that it provides authorization over the Git repositories. There are some kind of permissions which people have over some repositories, and also it provides several collaborative features such as bug tracking, feature requests, task management, and wikis for all the projects that you have on GitHub. So GitHub is the best place to share code with friends, co-workers, classmates, or even complete strangers. And over a million people use GitHub to build amazing things together, and we're gonna just learn the same. So without any delay, let's get started. Okay, so here we are on the web page of github.com. So you have to simply sign up if you haven't made any account on GitHub, or you can simply sign in if you already have an account. And after that, we are ready to get the home page of our account. So now the thing is that there are already a lot of repositories, around 96 million repositories already present on GitHub. So what if you want to use somebody else's code? So for example, on my profile, let's say I have got a lot of repositories. I've got around 76 repositories. So let's say I want to use any of my repositories locally. For example, I have this Python package called predtype. Okay, so let's say you found it interesting and you want to use this particular package, or you want to just make some changes to the code of this package. So one thing is that you can browse my code directly from here as well, but if you want to have it locally, then there are two options that you can do. The first thing is that you can click here to download the zip version of my GitHub repository, or another cool way of doing the same thing is to simply copy this link, and then you can simply clone this repository. So in order to clone this, let me first move to the desktop, and now I will do git clone and then that URL, and now it will be cloning this Git repository into my desktop. So now I can have all that code in my desktop only. So look at that, here is spread type and here is all the code. So in this way you can always clone any GitHub repository from GitHub. So in my last video, which was introduction to Git, I had created a sample project which was called my project 1, which was a Git repo. So I used it for the demonstration purposes of various Git commands. And now let's say you have a local Git repo and now you want to upload it to some website. In this case, it is GitHub. So how do I upload my local Git repo to GitHub? That is what we're going to see now. So let us see how to do that. So now the first thing that you have to do is you have to create a new Git repo on GitHub. That will be our remote repository. So now I'm just going to click here on new repository, and now a new repository is gonna get created. I have to give some name to my repository. Let me give it the same name as my local Git repo, which is my project 1. The description thing is optional, so I'm just gonna keep it like that. I can also set my GitHub repo to be public or private. If I set it as public, then anyone can see the repository and I can choose who can commit to it. And if it is private, it simply means that only I can see, or I can choose who can see and commit to this repository. Also, I can initialize the repository with a readme. Readme is just a simple file which gets displayed on the home page of your Git repo and gives a tells the person who is trying to check your repo a brief description about your project, right? So you can initialize it here right now, but I'm just not going to initialize it. So now let me just click on create repository. So it will create a simple repository for me, and now I have to upload some content on it, right? So for that, I'm just gonna click to copy this particular git URL of my repository, and now let us see what we can do here. Right now I am in the root of my project folder, and now what I have to do is I have to add a remote repository. I have to tell my local git repo that there exists a remote repo with which we have to work with in conjunction. So now in order to do that, all you have to do is you have to do git remote add, and now you have to give some name to this particular, you have to give some alias to this particular remote repo. So let me call it origin. So generally we give this origin name to any remote repo. So now git remote add, so I'm adding a remote repo for my local git repo, and I'm giving it the name origin, right? And now I have to provide the URL of my remote repo, which I am providing here. So now it got added. So now if I just try to do git remote -v, I get the remote repos that I have set. So this is my remote repo, github.com/nikhilkumarsingh/myproject1.git. So this shows that I have some remote repo for my local git repo. So now what I can do is, let me check the git status of my repo. The git status says that I'm on the branch master, there's nothing to commit, the working tree is clean. So now let me just push my all the commits that I have made till date to my remote repo. All I have to do is git push, then the name of the remote repo. I will use the alias, which is origin, and the name of the, you can also give the name of the branch to which you want to push. So I'm just gonna do git push origin master. So my current branch master will be getting will be updating the master branch on my remote repo. So now in the username, I have to provide my GitHub username and the password. And now it's getting uploaded. So yeah, so it got uploaded, and it created a new branch master on my remote repo. So let us try to just reload this page and see what happens. So here I reloaded the page, and look at that. All the contents of my project, which is .gitignore file, add.py, hello.py, got uploaded here just like this. Add.py, hello.py, and a .gitignore file. So in this way, we were able to upload our local Git repo to a remote repository on GitHub itself. And this is how you do it. Okay, so let us try to deal with the scenario now. Let's say you have committed your local Git repo to your remote Git repo on GitHub, and now let's say you made some changes in your project locally. So for example, I am here. The Git status says that I'm on the branch master, nothing to commit, working tree clean. So let me just open hello.py, my file in my project, and I will just do some changes. Let me just do print yo. So I added a new statement here, and now let me move out. Now git status says that I have modified hello.py, so I'm just gonna add it to my staging area, and then I'm just gonna commit it. Let me just say added new statement. So this is my commit, and now what I'm going to do is, I have this particular commit in my local Git repo, but I do not have this commit in my remote repo. So how do I push my changes to the remote repository? So that is as simple as, again, pushing it. So every time you create any new commit in your local repository, you have to push it to your remote repository by using this command, git push origin master. So now what will happen is, my current branch, the commits of my current branch will be getting updated on the branch master of my remote repository. So now git push origin master, and now it will ask for my username and password. So every time you have to provide the username and password, because by default it's only you who can push commits to your repository. So now let me just put the password and we are done. So in this way, these 8 commits are now gonna change to 9 commits if I just um, reload this page, right? So in this way, added new statement got added here, print yo, right? So in this way, you push new changes from your local Git repo to your remote Git repo. By now, you must have seen this interesting thing here, which is saying that help people interested in this repo understand your project by adding a README, right? So a README is a simple file which gives a description, brief description of your project. So here it is telling me to add a README. So let us try to see what happens if I just click here and add a README. So basically readme.md is a markdown file. Markdown is a type of a format which gets converted to HTML, which is exchangeable with HTML actually, and it gets displayed very nicely. So now I can write my readme file here and it will be saved at the root of my project folder. So now let me just write something, my sample project, like this, right? So this is my you can say my readme, and I can also see the preview of how it would look like. Look at that, it would look like this. There is a hash there which means that it is h1 tag of the HTML actually. So it is showing, it is being shown as a bit large font in a bit large font here, right? So now I can basically commit this particular new file. By default, the message will be create readme.md. So I can just commit this new file and I will be committing directly into the master branch. I do not want to create a new branch for this commit. So commit new file and let us see what happens. Look at that. A file called readme.md got created and it is showing something like this here, my project 1, my sample project. So in this way I was able to create a readme file. So this was a bit easier way of doing this particular thing. You can also in your local Git repo just create a new file called readme.md and then write anything there, and when you will be pushing it to your remote repo, then readme.md file will itself get displayed here automatically. Okay, so now let us see one thing here. We have readme.md, but we do not have it here in our project folder, right? We do not have readme.md because we directly committed and did everything with readme.md on the remote repo itself. Although it's not a good practice, but we did that here. We did it there, and now we want to have readme.md to our local repo. Then how do we do that, right? So that is what we're going to see now. So in order to do that, what you have to do is you have to pull the changes in your remote repo to your local repo. So how do you do that? You simply do git pull origin and changes from the master branch. So git pull origin master, what is that gonna do? It is gonna pull any changes which had been made since the latest commit on your local repo. So the change that we made was to create readme.md file on the remote repo itself, and that's why that change got pulled here, and now we have readme.md to us here, right? So this is the readme.md that we needed. So in this way, we can create a readme.md file and then we can simply pull it to keep our local repo as well as remote repo consistent. Okay, so we are done with cloning, then we are done with uploading our local Git repo to GitHub, then we did some pushing and then pulling, and now let us try to see how do pull requests work on GitHub, right? So actually in October, GitHub was celebrating Hacktoberfest, in which people have to make at least 5 PR and they are gonna get some free swags from GitHub. Okay, so here is a repo which is trying to do the same. So let us try to see what they're saying. They're saying that you can contribute to this particular repo by making your contribution. You can just send a PR to us, right? So that is what they are saying. So what you have to do is in the contributors file, simply add your name, institution, country in the following format. Note that your institution name field is optional and you may leave it blank and all. Okay, so he's asking me to create a new pull request. Basically, any GitHub repo on which you do not have any access to, you can only make a pull request, nothing else. Okay, so let us try to see how we can create a pull request by taking the example of this particular repository. Consider that this is a project and you want to contribute to it. Then how do you contribute, right? So that is what we're going to see. So the first thing that you have to do is you have to fork it. You have to fork the repo. By forking this, you are going to create your own copy of this repo. So I'm just going to select to which account or organization I want to have it. I'm going to have it for myself, Nikhil Kumar Singh. So look at that, github.com/Nikhil Kumar Singh/Hacktoberfest-first PR. So now it is my version of this particular repo, right? So now what I have to do is I have to just do some changes in the contributors.md, let's say. So I can simply do that. I can just click on raw. I can just click on this edit button here. You can also edit this file by first of all cloning this repository, then doing some changes and then pushing them back to your remote repository. But just for saving time right now, we are just gonna make the changes directly in our remote repo. So I'm just gonna copy it. Let me just change it a bit, make it 42. Let me make it Nikhil Kumar Singh, github.com slash. Let me make it Nikhil Kumar Singh, and the country, let me make it India. So in this way, I did some changes to this file, but these changes are only to my version of this repository, not the original version. So let us see what we can do now. I just did a change. I updated the contributors.md, and now it's time to raise a PR. So how do we raise a pull request? You just click on new pull request, and now something like this happens. They're trying to compare the changes, and it is saying that it is able to merge, which means that when my branch master of my git repo will be merged will be merged with their branch master of their git repo, then no merge conflict will happen, and that is good. So I can just create a pull request here. So now this is the title of my pull request. I can simply write anything here. So I'm just going to create a pull request directly here, create pull request, and now I have successfully created a pull request. Look at that. In the pull request, it is showing my version of my pull request. And if I want to see which commit I made for this particular pull request, I can click here and I can see that I did this particular commit as a pull request. So in this way, you create a pull request, and now the person who has access to this particular repo, they can just go to my PR and they can just click on it, and they can just they will get an option to merge it, and they can simply merge it, right? So I hope they merge it, and yeah, so this is how you create a pull request. Many a times when we are browsing GitHub looking for some particular functionality or code, and we find some repository, but we find then there is some kind of a mistake or there is something missing, then we might want to let other people know about that particular issue, right? So for that, GitHub has provided you an extra functionality which is called issues, in which you can go to the issues and you can create a new issue. So you can just click on new issue and then just add some issue. Let's say this is a sample issue. Okay, issue. Okay, so I'm just gonna create a simple issue here. So I'm just gonna submit this new issue, and look at that. I have one new issue in my GitHub repo. So now anyone who visits my GitHub repo and they find something missing, they might want to go to issues and check if that same issue is already there or not. And if it is there, then they can simply comment on it or do any kind of thing there. Okay, and the owner of the repo can also close this issue if they feel that it is actually solved or doesn't need any kind of intervention. So in this way, issues work on GitHub. So guys, this brings us to the end of this video on introduction to GitHub. I hope you got a basic understanding about it, and now from here on you'll be able to use GitHub to its fullest. And yeah, so if you still have any doubts, you can put them in the comment section below. That's it from this video. Thanks for watching.